Omar Rahman pressed his forehead against the cold bus window as the forest thickened outside. Towering pines swallowed the road, their branches leaning like they were eavesdropping on him. The GPS on his phone had lost signal 20 minutes earlier, typical for a place like Ravenwood State Hospital, a facility so deep in Oregon's wilderness that even locals avoided talking about it. It was Omar's first official assignment as a junior investigator. Fresh degree, fresh start, fresh anxiety chewing at his ribs. When the bus finally stopped, a lone building loomed ahead, gray, windowless, and quiet in a way that felt wrong. A man in a dark coat greeted him at the entrance, his expression unreadable. "You must be Rahman," he said. "Yeah, Omar. I'm Dr. Alan Pierce, your supervisor." Pierce handed him a thin case file, no thicker than a restaurant menu. A red stamp across the cover read, "Case Report 7591. Restricted access." Omar flipped it open as they walked inside. The interior smelled of antiseptic and old secrets. Inside the file were only 3 items. 1, a grainy photograph of a man with pale, almost glowing eyes. 2, a single page with no diagnosis, no history, just a warning. Do not allow prolonged eye contact. 3, a cassette tape labeled, "Audio log. Do not play alone." Omar looked up. "This is all you have?" Pierce gave a slow nod. He was transferred here 3 days ago from an unknown facility. No name, no fingerprints, no past. All we know is that he keeps asking for someone. "Who?" Pierce stopped walking. "You." Omar blinked, confused. "But he doesn't even know me." "That's what we thought," Pierce said, "until he spoke your name during intake. First thing he said." A chill settled under Omar's skin. Later, after Pierce left him alone in his small office, Omar stared at the cassette. The label felt heavier than the tape itself. He hesitated. He shouldn't play it. He knew he shouldn't. But curiosity, the kind that ruins lives, won. He pushed the tape into the old recorder. Static hissed. Then a wet, distorted breath filled the room, followed by a whisper that crawled under Omar's skin like ice water. "Omar, I've been waiting." The tape clicked off. The office returned to silence. But Omar knew, deep in his chest, that he was no longer alone in the room. Omar barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, the whisper from the cassette crawled back into his ears, slow, intimate, like someone leaning over his shoulder in the dark. By morning, he had convinced himself it was just a coincidence, a trick of audio, a mishearing. He needed to believe that. Dr. Pierce met him outside Ward C, the hospital's underground isolation wing. The hallway leading down looked like something built for a bunker rather than a medical facility. Thick metal doors, red security lights, cameras that followed movement with mechanical clicks. Pierce handed him a clipboard. Standard interviewing protocol. You don't approach the subject unless instructed. You don't touch the subject. You don't respond to anything personal, he says. "Why personal?" Omar asked. "You'll see." A guard keyed open the final door. Inside the room, a single table sat between 2 chairs. A metal bar separated them, standard for high-risk patients. The man from the photograph was already sitting there, hands folded neatly, posture perfect. His pale eyes tracked Omar the moment he entered. Not the guard, not Dr. Pierce. Just Omar, as if he recognized him. Omar sat down slowly, heart pounding. "Subject 7591, he began, tried to sound clinical. "Do you know why you're here?" The man smiled. His teeth were too white, too straight, like they hadn't been used. "I'm here because you came," he said. Omar's pen froze above his paper. "We've never met." The man tilted his head, studying him. "Is that what they told you?" Omar swallowed. "I'm here to ask you questions. Nothing more." The man said softly, "How long have you been having the dreams?" Omar stiffened. "What dreams?" "The ones with the corridor." The man leaned forward slightly. "And the door that never opens." Omar felt his blood run cold. He had been having that dream for weeks, long before he knew this place existed. But he had never told anyone. He tried to regain control of the interview. "Subject 7591, Do you know your name? The man chuckled. I know yours. We already established that. No. His voice dropped to something low and wrong. I know your real name. Before Omar could respond, the lights flickered. Once. Twice. The temperature in the room plunged. But the man's smile widened in the dark. Widened too far. When the light snapped back on, he was still sitting perfectly still. But something about his posture had shifted. His head angled in a way that looked painful. Did you see him? He asked quietly. See who? Omar whispered. The man's expression brightened like a child sharing a secret. Nothing. Just a silent room. When he turned back, Subject 7591 was still smiling. Omar left Ward C with his heartbeat hammering inside his skull. The hallway felt too long. The lights felt too dim. And every door he passed seemed to exhale a faint breath of cold air. He knew things about me. Omar said, things I've never told anyone. Pierce's expression tightened. Shut the door. The one standing behind you. Omar jerked around. Not at Omar. Through him. Dr. Pierce was waiting for him near the elevators. Well, Pierce asked. Omar did. Pierce lowered his voice. You need to understand something. Subject 7591 has done this with every investigator who came before you. He learns personal details he has no physical way of knowing. We don't know how. We don't know why. But he connects the people. Connects how? Pierce hesitated. Obsessively. Espine. And the investigators before me. What happened to them? Pierce didn't answer. He didn't need to. The mirror later that night. Omar splashed cold water on his face in the staff restroom, trying to wash away the encounter, trying to wash away the whispers still echoing in his head. As he looked up, something felt off. His reflection stared back at him, normal at first. Then, as Omar reached for a towel, his reflection didn't move. It stayed frozen for nearly 2 seconds, before blinking and catching up with his real movement. Omar stumbled back, breath hitching. What the hell? He stepped closer. The mirror fogged slightly with his breath. But the reflection lagged again, just a fraction of a second delayed. Like it was thinking. Unauthorized access determined to shake it off. Omar returned to his office. His ID card should only open level 1 doors. But when he swiped on a restricted level 3 archive room, just a test, the door clicked open. He froze. He hadn't been granted access. He knew he hadn't. Inside, the room smelled of dust and forgotten things. Rows of old files lined the walls. Omar scanned the shelves until something caught his eye. A drawer labeled, Former Investigators. Case 7591, his stomach tightened. He pulled the drawer open. Inside were 4 folders. Each folder had a name. Each name had a red stamp across it. Missing. The most recent file belonged to Dr. Howard Lynch, the previous investigator. Inside Lynch's notes, one line was heavily underlined. He does not just observe you. He enters your life like a memory you never made. The footage shaking, Omar returned to his office and opened the interview room security footage. He fast-forwarded to the moment the lights flickered. The screen crackled. Static roll for a few seconds. Then the frame stabilized. Omar saw himself sitting at the table with Subject 7591, and behind him, standing in the far corner, was a tall, shadow-like figure, pitch black, with no face. No edges. Like darkness poured into the shape of a person. It leaned toward Omar, as though whispering into his ear. Omar's heart slammed into his ribs. He replayed the footage. This time, the figure wasn't there. Still gone. But Omar had seen it. He knew he had. A notification suddenly pinged on a computer screen. New message received, no sender. No address. Just a blank email. He clicked it. The message contained only one sentence. You look behind the wrong shoulder. Omar stared at the screen as the room grew colder. Something was watching him, and whatever it was no longer staying in Ward C. You're Omar, right? She asked. Yeah. Do I know you? She frowned. We worked together last year. You don't remember? Omar felt a cold drop inside his stomach. I only started working here 2 weeks ago. The nurse's face drained of color. She stepped away from him like he had just said something dangerous. "No," she whispered. "No, that's not true. I saw you. I saw you with Dr. Lynch. You were already assigned to case 7591. The elevator doors closed, cutting off her trembling voice. Omar stood frozen as the elevator descended, his breath shaking. Why would someone remember him here before he ever arrived? The archives, he went straight to the restricted level 3 archives again. His unauthorized access still worked. This time, he searched the cabinets for something more specific. A folder labeled Omar Rahman. Internal record, his hands trembled as he pulled it out. Inside were dozens of pages, dates, notes, psychological evaluations, all written in different handwriting, different years. Years he had never been here. One note chilled him the most. Subject shows memory instability. Cannot recall initial encounter with 7591. Another page. Exposure has begun. Omar's throat tightened. His pulse roared in his ears. Exposure to what? He whispered. At the back of the folder, tucked between pages, he found a small flash drive taped in place. A handwritten label read, "Don't watch it." He pocketed it because he knew he would watch it. The investigator's phone before leaving the archives. Omar noticed something stuck behind the folders, a cell phone, old and dusty. The locked screen displayed a photo of Dr. Howard Lynch, the missing investigator. The phone battery was somehow still alive. There was one saved video on the home screen. He pressed play. The camera shook violently. Lynch was holding it with trembling hands, sweat pouring down his face. "If you're seeing this, you already feel it," Lynch whispered. "The gaps, the repeating moments, the days that don't belong to you." Omar leaned closer. Lynch looked around in terror, then back at the camera. He finds you in your thoughts first, in your habits, then in your memories. And when he's deep enough, you start remembering things that never happened. Lynch began sobbing quietly. He rewrites your life, piece by piece, until you forget who started it, and who you were before him. A loud bang echoed in the background. Lynch flinched. His whisper became a desperate plea. "Don't let him finish your timeline. Don't let him." The screen erupted in static. The video ended abruptly. Omar stared at the dark screen, heart pounding so hard his chest hurt. When he lowered the phone, someone had written on the desk in front of him. Not scratched, not printed. Fresh, wet ink. 3 words. "You're next." Omar stumbled into the hallway, dizzy, nauseous, terrified. But the hallway wasn't the same as before. The lights flickered weakly, shadows bending in ways that didn't match the walls. The corridor stretched longer than it should, much longer, as if the building had grown. And at the very end, a door that didn't exist yesterday. A door pulsing with a faint, red glow beneath it. Omar took a shaky step toward it, because he had seen this exact hallway before. The dreams he never told anyone about. The dreams 7591 somehow knew. Omar reached for the handle, his hand trembling uncontrollably. The moment his skin touched the metal, he heard the same whisper from the cassette tape. Not in the hospital, in his dreams. "Come in, Omar." Omar jerked his hand away from the doorknob as if it burned him. The whisper still echoed inside his skull, soft but sharp enough to slice through thought. "Come in, Omar." He stumbled backward, breath ragged. The hallway behind him suddenly snapped back to normal length, normal lights, normal doors. The red-lit door was gone, as if it had never existed. Omar pressed his hands to his face. His mind felt like a radio tuning through stations, none of them quite right. He needed answers. He needed truth. There was only one place left to get it. Ward C, subject 7591. The second interview, the guards hesitated when he requested access. "You were just here yesterday," one of them muttered. "No, I wasn't." The guard exchanged a worried look with the other. "Rahman, you've been down here 4 times this week." Omar's blood ran cold. I don't remember that." The guard opened the door anyway. Inside, 7591 sat at the table, hands folded, the same polite posture as always. But when he saw Omar, his smile widened into something predatory. "Welcome back," he said. Omar sat down, his palms sweating. "I need to know what you're doing to me." "I'm not doing anything," the man said gently. "You're finally remembering." "Remembering what?" The man leaned forward, eyes gleaming too brightly. "Your other lives." Omar's stomach twisted. "What does that even mean?" "It means you've been here before," 7591 whispered. "Many times. And each time, you get a little bit closer to understanding." Omar slammed his hand on the table. "Stop talking in riddles. Why do people think I've worked here longer? Why are there files with my name from years I don't remember?" The man tilted his head, childlike. "Because you're not the first, Omar." The room fell silent. Omar felt the world tilt. "The first? What?" The man smiled wider. "Too wide. There have been others. Versions of you. Pieces of you. You call them investigators. But really they were prototypes." "Prototypes for what?" "For the one who stays." His voice dropped into something deeper. "Eventually, one of you completes the transition." A pressure built behind Omar's eyes, like a migraine made of electricity. "Transition into what?" he whispered. The man's voice became unbearably soft. "Into me." The darkness moves, the lights flickered again, the same way they had during the first interview. A shape behind him in the reflection of the metal table. Tall, faceless, black like a shadow carved into a human outline. But this time, Omar saw it. It leaned over his shoulder, breathing. Omar whirled around. Nothing. 7591 laughed quietly, almost kindly. "You feel it now, don't you? The missing days, the borrowed thoughts, the door in your dreams." Omar's throat tightened. "Stay away from me." "I can't," the man whispered. "You brought me here." "No," Omar said. "No, I didn't." But the man shook his head slowly. Omar staggered to his feet. He felt sick, violently sick. "What do you want from me?" The man's smile faded. His expression became almost mournful. "I want to go home." Omar backed toward the door. "But I can't leave," 7591 said, "until someone takes my place." Omar froze. "What?" "Every cage needs a keeper," the man said, rising from his chair with unnatural smoothness. "And every keeper must forget who they were." Omar reached for the intercom button. Before he could press it, the man whispered, "Check the files again. The newest one. The one dated tomorrow." Omar felt his blood turn cold. "There's nothing dated tomorrow," he said. "Not yet," the man replied. "But when you open it, you will see your face." Omar sprinted out of Ward C, lungs burning, vision swimming. He didn't stop until he reached his office, slamming the door behind him, locking it, then dragging a chair beneath the handle even though he knew it wouldn't help. The room felt colder than before, hollow, as if something had been waiting for him to return. He opened the cabinet where he'd first found his unauthorized files. A new folder sat on the shelf, a folder that absolutely hadn't been there before. Omar Rahman, case report 7591 date. Tomorrow his hand shook violently as he pulled it open. The first page was a medical intake form. Age, weight, background, all correct. But the final section made his skin crawl. Diagnosis, identity destabilization status. Transition in progress, recommended action. Isolation ward. His breath stuttered. The next page was worse. A photo. His photo. Except the eyes were wrong, pale, washed out, and empty. He stumbled back from the desk. And in the silence, Omar heard footsteps. No, this isn't real. But the overhead light flickered. Once. Twice. Then died. Darkness swallowed the room. Slow. Deliberate. Walking behind him. He didn't turn. He couldn't. A whisper brushed against his ear. "Do you see it now?" Omar's body trembled uncontrollably. "What do you want from me?" "To finish what we started," the voice breathed. "You opened the door. You let me in. You gave me a shape." Omar finally turned. Subject 7591 stood inches away. Except it wasn't the man anymore. It was shifting. Its face flickered between different versions of him. Older, younger, terrified, angry. Faces Omar recognized from missing investigators. Faces that were all versions of him. "You're not real," Omar whispered. "I'm every part of you that didn't survive," the figure said. "And now, it's your turn." The shadow behind 7,591 peeled away from the wall. It towered over Omar, limbs too long, head tilted unnaturally. It touched his shoulder with a cold, liquid black hand. Omar's vision cracked. The transition, the world dissolved into flashing images. Omar in a hospital bed. Omar behind bars. Omar interviewing himself. Hallways bending, stretching, repeating. A door glowing red in every version of reality. The shadow figure whispering into the back of his skull. Dr. Lynch screaming his name. Files with his photos stamped missing in red ink. A voice repeating over and over.